Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Tutorial Take Cut here, and in today's tutorial I'll be taking you through the process of how to cut and sew a palazzo trouser with an elastic waistband and side pocket. If this is a video you're interested in, please watch to the end. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also turn on the notification bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. So basically for this tutorial I'll be making use of this Duchess fabric you see over here, and this is a cocoa color. So it's actually a light Duchess, and I have about 4.5 yards of fabric here because I'll be making the pants and also the blouse with this 4.5 fabric. So for the drafting we are going to be starting with the pant cotton, which is a trouser cotton. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold this fabric into two, and I'll be folding with my round hip measurement divided by 4. I'm working with the round hip of 42 inches. 42 inches divided by 4 is 10.5. I'll be adding 1 inch to that 10.5, making it 11.5 inches, and I'll be adding extra 5 inch to it. I don't know if you understand. After dividing your round hip into 4, add 1 inch to it. Then after adding 1 inch, just go ahead and add extra 4 inch to it. So that is what we are going to be folding with. After I went ahead to fold my fabric into two, and remember that I told you that I'm working with the round hip of 42 inches. I divided 42 inches into 4, which is 10.5, and I added 1 inch for ease, making it 11.5. And I also went ahead to add extra 4 inch allowance to it, making it 15.5 inches. So that was what I folded here with. So I'm just going to go ahead and get the length of this pant, so that we'll go ahead and cut out this remaining piece. So I'll be using 2 inch for my elastic band. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 2 inch at this upper part here, and I'm working with the full length of 48 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark 48 inches here. So after that, I'm just going to go ahead and cut out the sides. So basically, after cutting out the sides, this is what I have. And the length of this folded fabric is the length of the pant that I'm working with. So the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is to impute our vertical measurement. So from this waistline, I'm going to go ahead and subtract the 2 inch that we have for our band. And I'll be marking my hip length. The hip length that I'm working with is 10 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark 10 inches. After marking 10 inches, I'll go ahead and mark my crotch depth line. Now, normally what I do is to add 1.5 inches to my hip length, or you divide your round hip measurement into 4. After dividing it, just go ahead and add 1.5 inches to it. So my round hip divided by 4 is 10.5. Adding 1.5 to 10.5 will give me 12 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and add extra 1 inch for it for ease. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 13 inches at this point. So after getting my crotch depth line, the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is to mark my thigh measurement. Normally your thigh measurement should be 2 inch away from your crotch depth. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and mark 15 inches, and I'm going to go ahead and extend these lines. After extending the lines, this is our waist length, this is our crotch line, and this is our thigh length. So the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is on the hip line, I'm going to go ahead and divide my round hip measurement into 4, and I'll be having 10.5. And remember, we added 1 inch for ease. So instead of marking 10.5, I'll be marking 11.5 inches at this point. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark this. Now, after marking it, just go ahead and mark it on your crotch line. Mark it on your crotch line, and also mark it at your waistline. So after that, just go ahead and use your ruler to connect the lines. So after connecting the lines, the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is at this crotch line, I'm going to go ahead and divide my round hip measurement again into 4, which is 10.5. Now the 10.5 inches, I'm going to go ahead and divide it again into 4 inches. And after dividing it, I had 2.6 inches. So instead of marking 2.6 inches, I'll just go ahead and make it 2.5 inches. So from this crotch depth length that I have here, that I marked this measurement, I'm just going to go ahead and extend out by the 2.5 inches that we have. I don't know if you can see. So I marked that down here. Now the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to get the midpoint of this crotch depth. I'm going to go ahead and mark the midpoint, and I'm going to go ahead and connect from this line that I have here to this point, then from this point down to this 2.5 inches we have here in a very curvy way, just like you see me do over here. Now make sure that it is lapping, because your drawing will determine how well your crotch depth will come out. So this is what I have. So after marking that down, this is what I have here. As you can see, this is already our crotch depth. Now, the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do right now is to divide my round thigh measurement into two. Just go ahead and measure your round thigh, the upper part, get and measure it. So for me, I have 28 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and divide 28 inches into two, and I'll be left with 14 inches. As you can see, so at this thigh measurement point, I'm going to go ahead and get 14 inches. But before that, at this crotch depth line, let's just go ahead and measure what we have here. I have 14.5 inches at this point. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark the center of this 14.5 inches. I don't know if you understand. I'll mark the center, which is 7.25. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it at the crotch depth. Going to go ahead and mark the same midpoint at our thigh length measurement. Remember, it was 7.25. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark 7.25, and I'll be connecting the lines together. Now I'm going to go ahead and measure my round thigh measurement, and I'm working with a round thigh of 26 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and divide 26 inches into two, and 26 inches divided by 2 is 13 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and divide 13 inches again into two, and I'll be left with 6.5 inches. So from this center part that we have here on our thigh length measurement, I'm going to be marking 6.5 inches on both sides. I don't know if you understand. I'm taking this point as a guide, so I'm marking 6.5 inches at the both sides, and this is what I have here. Now the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is to connect this line that I marked here into this part. I don't know if you can see. I'm just going to go ahead and blend it into the line, just like you see over here. So I blended it into this line. Now for this crotch depth part, I'm going to go ahead and connect from this point that I have to that 6.5 inches that I marked. And this is what I have here. Now the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to determine how wide or full you want your own palazzo to be. But for me, I don't want it to be too free. So I'm going to go ahead and place my band measurement, which is 2 inches, for us to get our knee length. Now for the knee length, I'm working with 16 inches. 16 inches. Now, for me to get the 16 inches, I can get it from the crotch depth line this way. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark 16 inches from our crotch depth line. Now, if you want to get yours, just place your tape rule at your flap area and get your knee measurement. So I marked 16 inches, and it will be serving as our thigh, as our knee length. So from this point that I marked 16 inches, at this knee length, I'll be going in by 1 inch. Now you can also go ahead and choose to go in by 1.5 inches if you don't want yours to be fuller. But for me, I'll be going in by 1 inch on both sides, just like you see over here. So for this point, I'm just going to go ahead and go in by and measure what I have here. So for this point, I have 2 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and measure 2 inches at this point. I don't know if you understand. So I marked 2 inches here. I'm going to go ahead and mark the same thing at the full length of this trouser. So at this point, I'll mark 1 inch, and at the other point, I'll mark the 2 inch that I have here. Now after that, I'm just going to go ahead and connect these lines from this line to this point, from this point to this point, from this line to here, then from here to the end. Now after connecting the lines, this is what it is looking like, and that will be that for the front piece. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out. So after cutting this piece out, this is what it's looking like. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin the sides together so that it doesn't move from the area where I kept it. So after pinning this down, I'm going to go ahead and fold my fabric again into two for us to be able to cut the back piece. But this time around, the folding of the fabric for the back piece will be a little bit wider than the folding of the front piece. So basically, after I folded my fabric into two, I went ahead to place those front piece on the pattern. So after that, I made sure that both sides of these pieces that I folded has about 3 inch at this side, as you can see, and also 3 inch at this other side. I don't know if you see, even at this point. So I made sure that each sides are up to 3 inches. And for the waistline, I made sure that I also have allowances at this upper part. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to come up by 2 inch at this point that you see over here. So I went ahead to mark 2 inch at this point, not from the sides of the shaping, but from this side. I came up by 2 inch. Now at this hip length, I'm going to be coming out by 2.5 inches for the butt to be free. But if you want yours to be tight, just go ahead and mark 2 inches at this butt length. Then I'm going to go ahead at this crotch depth line. I'll be coming out by 3 inches. I don't know if you can see. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark 3 inches. Now the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do right now is to connect these lines together. So as you can see, this is the way I actually connected the lines. And if you notice very well, you'll see that we have already given a butt allocation for the back piece. Now the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is from this tie measurement, I'm going to be marking 2 inch from this point all the way down to the full length of this pant. After marking the 2 inch, as you can see here, the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is at the sides of this pant, I'm going to be adding 1 inch from the waistline all the way down to the full length. Now, this waist length is for the joining and also for ease. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark it all the way down to the full length, and I'll go ahead and connect the lines. After marking the 1 inch all the way down to the full length of this pant, I'm just going to go ahead and connect from this edge that I have here all the way to this 2 inch that I came up with earlier. I don't know if you understand. I'm just going to go ahead and slant it this way to meet the 2 inch that we marked there earlier. And this is what we have. So the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do now is to cut out this back piece following this new pattern that we made at the sides all the way down. So after cutting this out, this is what it is looking like. So I'm just going to go ahead and separate the front piece away from the back piece, just like you see over here. Now the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is to join this crotch area from this waistline all the way down to this point. I'm going to be joining it at about 1/2 inch, and I'll also go ahead and do the same thing from the front area. I'm going to be joining from this point to this point with 1/2 inch. I went ahead to join the two front piece together. This is what it is looking like. I don't know if you can see. So I'm just going to go ahead and place the back piece aside for us to work on the front pocket. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold this into two, making sure that the right sides are facing each other, just like you see over here. Now I'm just going to go ahead from this side part of my pants. I'm just going to come in by 4 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 4 inches at this point, just as you see here. Now for the depth of my pocket, I'll be marking 8 inches. So from this waistline, I'll go ahead and mark 8 inches this way, as you can see. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my curve ruler to curve it in a pocket form, just like you see me do over here. So I went ahead to curve it. I don't know if you can see. So the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is to cut from this point all the way to this point. I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. Now, after cutting this piece out, I'm just going to go ahead and place this aside for us to cut out the pieces that we'll be using for our pockets. So basically for the pocket pieces, I went ahead to cut out this piece, and it's 4 pieces in total, just like you see over here. And for the width of this pocket piece that I had to cut out, the width is The width is 10 inches, while the depth of this pocket is 12.5 inches. Now you can also choose to go ahead and do more width and more length depending on what you want, but I think 10 and 12 is perfect. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring the front piece that we cut out the side earlier, just like you see me do over here. I'm going to place it right side this way, and I'm going to go ahead and bring one piece of this pocket that we cut out this way, and I'm going to go ahead and place it under this part. I don't know if you can see. I'll go ahead and place it under this part, making sure that the sides of this pocket is aligning with the side of our main fabric, just like you see me do over here. So I'll make sure that the sides are aligning very well. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut out the sides of this pocket side. I don't know if you understand. I'm going to trace out the pattern this way, and I'll be cutting out this part too for it to be equal in size, and I'll also go ahead and do the same thing for this other part. After cutting out the sides to be equal, I'm just going to go ahead and bring this out, just like you see me do over here, and I'm going to be placing it on top of the fabric this way, and I'm going to go ahead and pin that down and do the same thing for this other side. I'm going to go ahead and bring it out from under the main fabric it was to on top of it. Now the wrong side of this pocket side is facing the right side of this main piece that we have here, so I'm just going to go ahead and place it this way. Now I'll go over to my sewing machine and use about half of an inch to join from this curvy part that we have over here, as you can see, with half of an inch, and I'll go ahead and top stitch it too. At this point I was done attaching that pocket the way I showed you earlier, so I'm going to go ahead and flip this inward, just like you see me do over here, and this is what it is looking like. Now the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do right now is to flip this to the wrong side. Flip it to the wrong side this way, just as you can see. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring out the other fabric, the other piece that we had earlier too. I'm just going to go ahead and place it this way, making sure that the right side is facing inward this way. I don't know if you can see. So I'm just going to go ahead and place it, making sure that the sides are equal, and also make sure that the outside part is corresponding to the side of our main fabric. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin this down, and also go ahead and pin this down too. So I'm just going to flip it over to the wrong side, and I'm going to be picking these two pieces. That's the first piece, the one we attach to the pocket. I'm going to be using about half of an inch to join the sides this way, and when I come over to this point, I'll be stitching it down too with about half of an inch. I don't know if you understand. I'll be picking these two pieces of our pocket. I'll be joining it with half of an inch at this upper place. So for the upper waist place, I'll be joining it together with the main fabric. Then when I get to this point, I'll just pick out these two pieces. I'll join it with half of an inch. And when I get to this point too, I'll also go ahead and stitch it down with the main fabric with about half of an inch. And I'll be doing the same thing for this other side. Then after doing that, when I flip it over to the right side, this is what it should be looking like. So this is what it should be looking like when I'm done stitching it the way I told you earlier. And if you look closely, you would see where our pocket is, as you can see. So I'm just going to go ahead and do exactly what I just explained right now. Finally, at this point, I was done inserting the pocket to the front piece, and this is what it is looking like, as you can see. Let me place it very well for you to see. So this is the pocket area, and this is the pocket area. Now the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do right now is to place our back piece right side facing each other to this front piece that I have here, and I'm going to be joining the two crotches together. That's the back crotch and the front crotch. I'm going to be placing it this way, making sure that each center parts are meeting each other. So I'm going to be placing it this way, and I'll be using about half of an inch to join from this center all the way to the full length of this pant, and I'll also be doing the same thing for this other side of our trouser. And after that, I'll go over to the sides, make sure that the sides are equal this way, and I'll be using about 1 inch to join it from the waist area to the full length of our trouser. So basically, I'm done joining the sides of this pant, just like I showed you earlier, and this is what it is looking like. It is already at the right side. So this is what our front pants is looking like. Now let's go over and work with the waist area. Now for the waist area, remember that we subtracted 2 inch away from the length of our pants because we'll be attaching a band to it. So for the band length, you go ahead and measure the round waist that you have here, maybe from one side of the shaped area that you did all over to the other side. And for me, I already measured mine and it was 45 inches. So I went ahead to cut out this band. The length of this band is 45 inches. The length is 45 inches and the width is about 2.5 inches because we'll be using half of an inch to join it to the pants piece. Now I'm just going to go ahead and turn this over to the right side. Now, there are two methods you can use to attach your band to your trouser, but for me, I think I'll be doing the simple method. So I'm just going to go ahead and place this way, just like you see me do over here. Now, I'm going to be folding this for this end point to meet the other point, making sure that I get the center of this band. I don't know if you can see. So once I get the center this way, I'm just going to go ahead and use about half of an inch. I don't know if you understand. I'm going to be using half of an inch to join these two pieces together. Remember, I added 1 inch to the normal round waist measurement. So the half inch or the 1 inch that I added, I'll be subtracting half of an inch from this band, making it 1 inch in total. And I'm going to go ahead and flip it over to the right side. So at this point, I was actually done joining the sides, just like I showed you earlier. So I'm just going to go ahead and flip this over for this joint part to be inward this way. I don't know if you can see. Now, the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do right now is to get this center of our band first. Now, this is the center. At this point we have here is the center. So I'm just going to go ahead and notch it. So after notching it, I'm going to go ahead and open up this our waist area that we have. I don't know if you can see. So I'll get the band that we have earlier this way. And I'll be taking the waist of this band. I'm going to be taking the waist of this pant to place inward this band that we have here. Just like you see me doing, just watch what I'm doing. So I'm going to go ahead and place this inward this way. Now, if you can see, this band, I'm going to be using about half of an inch to join from this front area to this part. I don't know if you can see. Then under it, I'll also be joining this waist part to this part that is under. And while we flip it over to the right side, it will be looking something this way. But after joining the part, I'll just go ahead and leave at any part that you want. Just go ahead and leave about 1.5 inch or 1 inch opening where we'll be passing our elastic from. So don't just go ahead and sew everything all around. Just any part you feel is okay for you. Just go ahead and leave 1 inch or 1.5 inch opening to it. And I was done attaching the band, just like I showed you earlier. So this is what the waist area is looking like. As you can see, this is the band part. And also remember that I told you not to join all the parts to it. So for me, I left this little space inward. Don't mind my material. So I left this half of an inch space for inserting this band. For the elastic that we are going to be using, I went ahead to subtract 3 inches away from my normal round waist measurement, and I was working with 32 inches of round waist. So this band is the length of 29 inches. I subtracted 3 inches from it. But if you want yours to be more tighter, just go ahead to subtract 4 to 5 inches away from your band. Now for the band, you'll be needing this safety pin for you to be able to insert it to the waist area. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick up a point here, insert the safety pin and close it up. So from this point that I left this half of an inch that is opening from this band part, I don't know if you can see that it's open this way, not from the waist opening, from the band opening. I'm going to be inserting this elastic all the way around till it gets out from the other side. So at this point, while inserting my elastic band, I noticed that it couldn't pass through the other side because of the stitch we made at this point. Now let me go ahead and correct it so that you wouldn't encounter such a mistake. So at this point that I'll be using this as an illustration. This was the band that we cut out earlier for waistbands, and it was looking this way. This is the length and this is the width. So instead of joining it with half of an inch this way, just like I showed you earlier, just go ahead and open it up. Open it up this way. As you can see, remove it from unfold, then close it up this way and join it with half of an inch. After joining it with half of an inch, just go ahead and open it up this way. It should be giving you something like this. When you open it up, then just go ahead and now fold it into two to get your bandwidth unfold. I don't know if you understand. Let me go again. Instead of folding it into two and placing it this way, the initial way I told you to stitch here, don't do that, but instead open it up this way, turn it over to the wrong side this way, use about half of an inch to stitch it down, then flip it over to the right side. Okay, let me just use a pin to hold this down to show you what I'm talking about. Flip this, join it with half of an inch. After that, flip it over to the right side this way. It should be giving you something like this. Then after that, just go ahead and now fold it into two for you to be able to get your band. So you should be having like this. Now, something like this. Now, with this pattern, it will enable you to be able to pass your elastic band through. By starting the elastic to the waistband, I went ahead to arrange the sides, making sure that it is equal this way. Now, the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is to use about half of an inch to join this waistband together. And I'll be removing this safety pin. So after joining this band with half of an inch, I'll just go ahead and place it inside and go ahead to use about half of an inch to stitch down that open part that we have. So after attaching and stitching down the waist area with the elastic, this is what it is looking like, as you can see. So I also went ahead to stitch down that open side that I used to insert the elastic, and our pant is ready. Now the last thing I'm just going to go ahead and do for this is to go ahead and fold the full end of this pant and also do the same thing for this side, and that will be the end of this tutorial for the trouser pant. Now if you want a tutorial of the upper body of these two piece, check on my next upload or my next video. So for now, this is the end for this trouser. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also turn on your notification bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. See you in our next video. Bye.